my mind is made up.
Hey guys, this is Eric Kyle, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes Magazine.
And I'm David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes, and welcome to Three Sheets, our podcast where we chill and chat with individuals making a difference in the cruising lifestyle.
Each episode, we'll dive into all things cruising related and bring you some of the most influential characters out there. So sit back, grab your favorite bottle, light them if you got them, and enjoy the adventure. Hey guys, Eric Kyle here, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes Magazine, and I'm excited to be here with David Levesque. He is our editor at Lats and Ats, and we produce a show called Three Sheets. Here at Three Sheets, we interview some of the most influential people that are out there making their lifestyle by cruising the world. And today we have a very special guest. I'm going to let David introduce him. David, over to you, my man.
Hey everyone, David here. Thank you, Eric, for the stellar introduction as always. We appreciate it. So we are pretty stoked to be joined here with Andrew. Is it Keaveny?
Close, man, close. It's Keaveny, Irish, Keaveny. But I've had a lot worse pronunciations for it, so I'll let you slide on it.
So Andrew is your channel is Sailing. I'm gonna screw this up. Is it Aphrodite or Aphrodite?
Aphrodite, exactly. The goddess of love, sex, and beauty.
Well, that's it. Podcast over right there. So, Andrew, you've got a heck of a lot of followers, dude. You got like 45,000 followers on Instagram, 75,000 on YouTube. I mean, you seem like a nice, strapping young man. Why are you so popular?
Man, it all started on my journey moving upwards to Canada. The biggest thing that I started with was I'm just some dumb kid who never sailed a sailboat his entire life. And then I started putting out online that I'm going to try and sail around the world after never touching a sailboat ever. So I think people wanted to see my downfall. That's where it started with, because who doesn't like to see a good downfall? And then from there, it just, people clicked with me and they saw that I was just being myself and not trying to be on an agenda for what social media is. And that's kind of what I try to keep it like that. I actually have getting, the more followers I get, the more I have to fight with my own brain to remind myself that I'm doing this for me and I'm doing this as my own little journal. And if people like to follow along, that's how it goes,
Let me ask you a quick question, Andrew. Why in the hell are you sailing around the world? What got you hit with that bug? Why are you doing this?
God, man, it's a question I ask myself daily, and I'd be lying if I told you I didn't want to quit multiple times. Speaking about quitting, that's kind of where it all started from. I was in the military for a little bit, and when I was in the military, I was in RASP, which is the Ranger Assessment Selection Program. And that's what I wanted to do my entire life. I wanted to be a 20-year soldier, retire, get out, and do that to my whole family. And I quit RASP on like the third day because I was cold. And that was my one moment in time that was like, this is going to be me. This is going to be my legacy. I'm going to be badass. I'm going to make my family proud. And then I quit. It's actually funny because I didn't tell my father I quit until like 2 weeks ago. Like I never told that's how much it had that's how much it pulled on my heartstrings, right? So once that was out of the scene, I had to figure out what was the next big thing that I was going to do in my life to cement my legacy. And growing up as a kid, my dad's dream was to sail around the world, and he's got 5 kids, and family was more important than following his dream. So all he would do was watch YouTube videos nonstop. I mean, to the point where my mom would be like, all right, it's enough. My sister would go hide in her bedroom. My brother, can we watch something else? Where's SpongeBob? Blah, And I always say this is the dumbest thing in the world. Why do these people want to lock themselves on a casket and float around the ocean? I thought it was so silly, right? And I was back. I quit my superintendent job that I was working for in New York City during COVID, and I backpacked for about a year and a half. And I kept seeing sailboats and sailboats and sailboats. And I'm like, I had that epiphany in my head. I was like, wow, I guess the old man wasn't off his rocker yet. I guess he knew what he was talking about. And one thing led to another. And he ended up giving me his old boat. And I said if I could sail to Nova Scotia and back, then I would sail around the world. And July 9th was my first time ever lifting sails on a boat ever in my life. July 11th, I left to sail to Nova Scotia.
From where?
And from New York. I left Kingston, New York, up in the Hudson River, came down, went all the way north, made it to Nova Scotia, turned back around after I was denied entry, and that's something else we could talk about in this podcast. Got a new boat on my way down, and got back to New York. And once I made it to New York on the new boat, which is the one I'm on now, I said, "This is it. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna make a run for it. If I sink, I sink. At least I tried, And that was my biggest thing. Going back to what I said that I quit. That was my biggest thing to myself now is I'll never quit a thing again that I said that I'm gonna do. I got myself into a shit show because my thing is 7 summits, 7 seas. I want to be the youngest guy in the world to touch all 7 seas and hike all 7 summits. And man, just the more and more I say it, the more and more it becomes believable. But it's happening, and we're getting one day closer every single day. So
Let's talk about the boat. Who is
I've
she?
got it. I've got a 1975 41-foot center cockpit Gulf Star. Her name is currently Victoria. I am the second owner. The person I got it from had this boat for 44 years. And that's another great question, because I knew the guy for 10 minutes and he gave me his boat for free.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty epic. You must have made a hell of an impression. Did you have a gun on you at the time, or was it just simply generosity?
Did you scare the shit out of him? What happened there?
All the above, man. All the above. So I was in the Army, so I was at a Navy base hiding from Hurricane Lee. And this guy was a Navy vet. I'm an Army vet. And they assigned me a port side dock slip the day before my boat broke down because my fuel filters got clogged. So I had to get towed in. Tow operator was an absolute idiot. Hip tied me in 6 to 8 foot swells, snapped my cleats in half on my port side. So I had to swap to a starboard side. I asked the closest guy if he mind swapping with me. He said, "Yeah, no problem. Just help me catch my boat when I come in." He told me what his boat was. And 1 hour goes by, 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by. I'm getting annoyed, so I want to go do some stuff. And he finally shows up. I catch his boat. He starts just bullshitting real quick. I tell him I just spent 2 years rebuilding this boat, what I'm doing, trying to sail around the world. And he said, "Well, that's a pretty small boat. What do you think about doing it in this one?" And he offered it to me for $5,000. And I was like, "Listen, that is my dream boat. I've always wanted a center cockpit boat. I want an aft cabin. It's like, you don't understand what you're doing to me right now. You're making me think about getting rid of my dad's boat and everything, blah, blah, blah." And one thing led to another. And I think he just felt in his heart that I was going to take care of the boat the way it needed to be taken care of. He raised his kids on the boat. His wife and them had a great life on the boat. His wife died 3 years before from cancer. And after she passed away, he neglected the boat, and she was starting to fall apart. So I think he saw my determination, and that's what led him to giving me this boat. I mean, it was $30,000 boat the way that it sat before I got it. I mean, there's nothing. The guy changed my life financially, physically, mentally. If it wasn't for Alan Laird,
You keep in touch with him at all?
I send the guy emails weekly. I send him pictures everywhere I am. I talk to him on the phone. Whenever something goes wrong on the boat, I don't know what's going on, I give Alan a call. "Hey, Mr. Allen. All right, Andrew, what's wrong now?" So I'm writing a book about my whole journey, and part of my book's going to be me and his conversations between emails and the stories he tells me, the things he did on this boat. So it's very important to me to talk to him the way that I still talk to him.
As this is a new boat to you, Andrew, I got to understand, and since you're new to sailing as well, you probably had a whole list of different things that you needed to get familiar with, the systems on the boat, the rigging of the boat. the quality of the boat. I mean, if you're going to go transatlantic, trans-Pacific, if you're going to go around the world, then the boat needs to be in tip-top shape. So you probably went through a lot of that with him. Have you had other people on the boat kind of give you an assessment of what this boat's going to need in order to be able to make a journey like that?
So I've got a lot of friends in the sailing community that I've made throughout my past 10 months that I've been doing, 11 months now that I've been doing what I've been doing. A lot of people, I think they feel bad for me in a sense and don't want to see me perish in the middle of the ocean. So I think that catches their attention. So I've got this one friend, his name's Joe Drago. I'll give him a little shout out. He's got a company, a charter company up in New England, Sailing Resolutions. I actually sailed to Nova Scotia with him on my endeavor, and he was blown away when I told him I got this boat. But he's my rock. He's my rock when it comes to sailing. The guy is just a wizard, a long-term fisherman, sword fisherman, scallops. He knows boats better than almost anyone I've ever talked to in my life. So anything to do with structural integrity, anything to do with rigging, any kind of questions like that, I go through him. He sent me his charter list of everything he does before he goes out to the ocean and things like that. So I've got that myself. I run through it, the rigging and stuff. I just video chat on quick and send him pictures. I've got another guy. His name's Jeff Reiner. He's my electronics man. He actually donated my autopilot. He donated me my dinghy that I got right now. Any kind of electronics questions, I give that guy a call, and he walks me through it if I don't know it. And now that it's almost been a year, I've learned so much that I'm not talking to these people as much. But man, I give them a call, they answer right away, and I've known these people for less than a year, and it's just the sailing community is just so freaking neat.
Well, you just hit it. You actually just hit it. And what you said earlier, just about Alan giving you the boat for free, that's part of the pay it forward and the romance and the community of the cruising lifestyle. And we talk about that endlessly with this magazine. This magazine's 28 years old this year. We've had it for 2.5 years at this point. But it really is about community, and it's just, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what kind of boat you're on. You run into cruisers anywhere in the world, and it's like, it's family.
They're there to help me.
Yeah. So Aphrodite is your dad's boat.
So my dad's boat originally was what the hell was the name of it? Endurance. It was Endurance. It was the 32-foot Endeavor, which I then changed names to Aphrodite. Correct. And that was my dad's boat. My dad taught himself how to sail from YouTube, just like me. So you can blame my dad for this stupid, crazy dream that I have. So I learned from him that anything is possible off the college of YouTube.
Dad, I hope you're listening, and I hope you're proud of your kid, because he's doing pretty good. You talk about, I was looking at your YouTube or your Instagram page, published writer, photographer, right? So let's just bring up this.
Man, like we were talking about it earlier, when I first saw this magazine, the way that you guys just illustrated my photos and my literature, I'd be lying if I didn't have tears in my eyes when I saw that. The editor of that, of whoever designed that, is just, thank you for whoever did it, first of all. But secondly, to you guys or Lats and Nats, thanks for putting me in there and liking my story. And thirdly, just wow.
So let's talk about it, because it's in the charter issue. And the person that put together is the lovely and talented Sonia. She's our designer, and we'll make sure that she gets a Kit Kat bar for her efforts on this magazine.
And a Reese's, please.
And a Reese's. Okay, well, she's a Kit Kat fanatic. But I remember you sent me this article, I think almost last year at some point, and I was just looking for the right opportunity to put it in the magazine. The charter issue we had some space in there. We put it in. Tell me about the article. Let's just talk about, coming through Hell's Gate, whatever, in New York City and all that.
So that was my real first challenge to taking on the circumnavigation, I guess. Coming down I'm from Woodstock, New York. Well, Shandaken, but Woodstock, New York is where I grew up, basically. and it's up in the Hudson River. You got to come all the way down the Hudson River, and then go up through the Sound, around around Manhattan, the island itself, up through the Long Island Sound, into the Long Island Sound, and there's just 1, 2, 3 waterways converging, plus the ocean's tides and currents pushing it through. Everything that seems correct in your mind is opposite. So like the tides flowing are opposite. The way you want to drive on the side of the river is opposite. I mean, you got the UN building there. There's just so much that goes into going through this 4 or 5 mile section on the Eastern River that it was very intimidating, right? But if you hit it right and you get it perfect, there's nothing to worry about. I guess the biggest thing you got to worry about is those big New York City ferries blowing by, sending 6 to 8 foot wakes at you that you're not prepared for. I got to say,
You also mentioned in the article, you mentioned the UN building. Like if the UN's in session, the water is closed, right?
Yep. So if the UN's in session and you don't know it's in session, you have 2 ways to go. You have the west side, the east side of the river. The UN's on the western side. Then you've got the Roosevelt Bridge on the eastern side. You can go both ways, but there's only one way that you can go with a sailboat, because the Roosevelt Bridge is at 41 foot. Now, that's another great story, because I was this close, less than half a mile from going underneath the Roosevelt Bridge before my engine guy. I keep saying I got all these guys that help me. And my engine guy, his name's Chris. He saw my story on Instagram. He saw me post a picture, and he's like, "Are you sure you're on the right side of the river?" And this is like, I hit it like just perfectly. I'm going with 2 knots of current right now. That boat did about 4 knots. So I said, "Yeah, I think I'm good." Then he pulls up a picture and he says like, "No, man, my buddy demasted on that bridge. I don't think you can go into that bridge." And I checked and I double checked and I'm like, "Holy shit, you're right." And I turned my boat around. Then when I tell you 1/4 mile, half a mile before my entire dream was crushed and collapsed, it was that close. It was that close. So basically, if the UN's in session, you got to go on that side. If the UN's not in session, then you can go on the western side and you're free, no bridges. You can go right up, or you got no bridges to worry about going underneath.
Well, if you're approaching a bridge, it doesn't hurt to post it on social media, because somebody's going to look at it and say, "Dude, you're about
And ever since that happened, you can go watch all my reels. There's just bridge.
It sounds like you got not only a lot of people that are backing you on this trip, Andrew, but the gods are backing you as well, my friend. I think that's pretty epic.
I don't know who the hell is looking out for me and who's watching over me, but there's many, many times where things should have gone a lot further south than they have gone. And I'm not a spiritual person or a religious guy, but something's up there. I'll tell you that. Something's there for me.
Well, let's talk about the journey. So you're coming out of New York, and currently you're in St. Thomas?
St. Thomas USVI, baby.
11 months you've been at this adventure. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing over the last 11 months. Where'd you go? What'd you do? Who'd you see? Did you have fun?
Man, the first 3 months, I did not have very much fun. No, I didn't. God, it was just, it's as much to take on as you think it is how to sail a boat without learning how to sail a boat properly. And it was really overwhelming. But once I got into it, once I got up into Maine and I'm in the North Atlantic, and like, this is like the scariest place for boats ever, and blah, 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 and all this thing going on. And I'm there and I'm doing it. God, it opens up your mind so much to the point where I felt like I was untouchable, unstoppable. So I went through the East Coast all the way up into Maine. And once I got into Maine, I met with that person, Jeff, I was telling you about earlier, my electronics guy, gave me the dinghy. We met up together and we started buddy boating with each other. And we buddy boated all the way up into Bar Harbor, Maine. Bar Harbor, Maine was as far as I wanted to go, because that was where I used to go as a kid with my family. It was very, very important in my heart just to be like, all right, I sailed here. That was like huge for me, right? And I made it. And then once I made it there, I was like, well, what's next? You know, I'm like, I gotta leave by September, but I got up there early. I think it was like the end of July when I made it up there. So Nova Scotia was a 2-day sail away. It's like, all right, well, why don't we knock off my first country? Jumped over, hit Nova Scotia, made it to Shelburne. Um, Made it to Shelburne, then they denied my entry. I actually got stuck in Shelburne for 5 days, and those 5 days were some of the toughest days I've had to this date. I got stuck in a hurricane there. The hurricane missed us, but we had an intense gale between 30 to 50 knots. It actually broke my anchor free. I didn't anchor properly. Again, I was learning as I go and didn't know what to do. There's a video on my YouTube, which I'll send you guys a link of me literally for 30 minutes battling my boat against another boat. I'm just standing in between my boat and another boat in the middle of these waves, just trying to protect this guy's boat so I don't damage his boat. My anchor got fouled on a mooring line. And when I got fouled on the mooring line, I couldn't get my anchor up anymore. I just had my rope and chain to pull it by hand. So eventually I had to cut my anchor free completely. Lost my anchor that day, had no anchor left. And then I had to put my boat onto a mooring ball in about 6 to 8 foot waves and 40 knots of wind. And this day actually put me on to my biggest sponsor yet. So Dakota Lithium Battery, shout out them. They sent me 630 amp hours of battery for my boat, which I use daily. And I met the owner, now the CEO of, or one of the owners, now the CEO of Dakota Lithium Battery, Ryan, Sophie. They have a YouTube channel, Ryan and Sophie Sailing. While I'm trying to put my boat on a mooring ball, he came out with his little Torpedo motor and 6 to 8 foot waves, 30 knots of wind. His boat's like lifting up in the air, coming over this, just to see if I was okay. And going back to the sailing community, the guy didn't have to do that. He could have just sat there and watched me suffer. It's not like he could have done much, but it was just the fact that he came out trying, created that bond between us. I got onto that ball, and then I met 2 other YouTubers that day. Kevin Boothby from How to Sail Oceans. Phenomenal sailor. What a guy. What a guy. He's the one that took all the videos of me dying in that moment. But after that, all that went on, I left Nova Scotia 5 days later after the hurricane finally passed, and had my fights with the Canadian Border Patrol. Made it down into Maine again, worked my way into New Hampshire. That's where I ended up running into Alan, where I got my boat. After that, I stayed in New Hampshire for about a month or so, outfitted my boat that I'm on now, sold my other boat to a good friend, actually, who still's got Aphrodite #1 alive and well, so she's there doing her thing. Made my way all the way back down to New York, 0 autopilot from New Hampshire all the way up to New York, may I say. And got to New York, outfitted the boat properly, solar panels, batteries, all this jazz. Stayed there for about 2 months until it was January time I left New York. A week before the freeze came, I had to leave. Dad hopped on the boat with me. We sailed down to Annapolis together. That's the only time I've ever had anyone on the boat. And after that, I worked my way down the ICW all the way into Florida, where I left from West Palm Beach. Left West Palm Beach, had the 2 scariest days of my entire existence to this day, where I got trapped in a gale. Lowest I saw for 56 hours was 29 knots. Highest I saw was 39 knots. Got knocked down. My mast wedges broke free. Had 2 holes in the boat. Starlink couldn't connect. All I had was my GPS tracker keeping me going. Wrote myself off to die that time around. And broke off into the Bahamas. Bahamas to Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos to Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico to St. Thomas, where I've been now for about 2 weeks. And I'll be here for about another month or so. I'm paying off my credit cards and stuff before I keep on heading south, because I plan on hiking Aconcagua in December, and that's about $4,500 of money that I don't have right now.
What island is that on, or what country is that mountain on?
That's in Argentina, which is in South America. It's the tallest peak in South America. It's whoever's watching this, go fact check me on this, please. But it's, in all technicality, it's as tall as Everest from sea level. But obviously it's not Everest. But it's a 20-day hike, 20-day summit. And again, my thing is, if I can do something hard first, then I can keep on going. So I said, why not? Since I could start with Kilimanjaro, which is literally a 4 or 5 day walk. But if I can do Aconcagua, I can do Everest. And that's how it plays in my brain. And that's why I challenge myself. That's how I keep myself going. And that's how I'm going to get these all done.
Well, you
Like,
got
Andrew, I
a
want to
journey.
back up. Andrew, I want to back up real quick because you said you left the army because you were cold.
no. I quit this part in the army because I was cold.
Oh,
I
that's
was in
part of the army.
Yeah. So I was in it. So the RASP is Ranger Assessment Selection Program. It's a 8-week course you go to. Then if you pass, then you go into the Ranger Battalion, which is obviously the Army Rangers. And that was my dream all as a kid to do that. But after going through basic training, airborne school, and all this, I just turned 18. All I wanted to do was go party, drink, and have my own apartment. So that's all I could think about. Right. Biggest regrets in my life to this day, quitting that course. Excuse me.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking about the fact that, you seems like you've been through quite a bit. You haven't quit yet, which is awesome. You've had a bunch of stuff thrown at you. You mentioned the coast of Maine. You mentioned your anchoring issues. Interesting timing because as we record this podcast, the next issue of Latitudes and Attitudes Magazine. Oh, look at that. Erik has it. It's cruising the Maine coast, and there's an article in there on proper anchoring. So you should read this magazine sometimes because it might
Get
save
out of
you up.
here.
It just came
I
in
love
today. It's literally hot off the presses.
Amazing. Now I'll definitely get my hands on that. I'll get a read on that.
Yeah, we got this little magazine that sometimes provides good information for cruisers. So you got to check it out. I'm looking through again, going back to your Instagram page, and I noticed scuba instructor. I think you told me that one of the things you're doing down there in St. Thomas is scuba instructor, right?
Sure.
There's a really super cool photo, and we're going to put it into this podcast I saw on your Instagram page. You were hanging above, looks like a boat in St. Thomas, 350 foot long, 60 feet tall oiler.
Wick Concrete. Yeah, that's my favorite dive down here.
That is friggin' amazing. It says that you use the word whilst, and I give props to anybody who uses the word whilst in a sentence. But you were gliding along the deck, small entrances. You had to take your tank off, push it through the hole, then go, then put the tank back on. That
Yes,
sounds
sir.
like a lot of fun.
Oh man, scuba diving is a whole nother world, and that's when I made that decision in my head that I was going to sail around the world. The first thing I needed to figure out was how I was going to fund this, right? I'm not rich. I don't come from a family with money. Everything I have in my life, I've earned myself. Nobody's given me anything in my life. And I like to say that, and I like to make that known because I'm very proud of that.
Except a free boat. We just want to point that out.
Hey. All right. Okay. I forgot about that. You're right. You got me there. But so I needed to get some money. And while I was backpacking, I was like, well, how can I work on the water? Became a scuba instructor. My first time diving, I was in Colombia. 2 months later, I was a dive master. And less than a year later, I became a scuba instructor. And actually, this was I had my first scuba diving job was here in St. Thomas with the company that I'm working for again right now, Adventure Scuba. And they actually reached out to me when I got here and asked if I wanted to do some work, and it was perfect timing because I needed the money, I needed to pay some credit cards off, and let me get scuba diving again, instead of trapping myself on a boat by myself.
So, Andrew, you're going to make your way from St. Thomas all the way through the Eastern Caribbean islands until you get down to a certain point, and then you're going to jump straight down to South America. Or are you going to go straight into Argentina? What's the plan? And as you go down there, you'll be just going from island to island to gain a little bit of dough by teaching scuba to other people and making your way down. Is that the plan?
Yes and no. So currently right now I work remotely. I actually am a contractor for Patty. I write for their blogs. They have 2 blogs online, their emergency first response website, and I help take care of their social media. So that's my main source of income. And then I get some money from the Army every month. So that between those 2, I'm doing pretty well. Well, I'm doing well enough to do what I'm doing right now. Okay. It's It's not like what I was making when I was superintendent. Okay, I'm making ends meet. So when I do get opportunities like this to add some extra money on top, I'm capitalizing out of 100% and chasing the dollars that I can. The goal is to stay here as long as I can before I get scared of the hurricanes coming to clobber me. I've got 3 plans of what to do in case of a hurricane that does come. Plan 1, if it's going to be a direct hit and I really got to get out of here, is drop into the ABCs and fall into Bon Air, which unfortunately I then would have to drop off and miss the rest of the Caribbean islands. But to save my boat and myself, it'll be okay. Plan 2 is to hop back into Puerto Rico, and plan 3 would be to drop into Grenada, beat into the wind for 2 days until I'm dropped below that 15-degree line, and hopefully be safe down there. So I'll probably be taking off here the first week of July, I believe. And then from there, I'll move across Venezuela, Colombia. I think I'm going to pull the boat out of the water in either Colombia or Panama. She definitely needs some work. I got to do bottom paint. I got some tow rails that need to be addressed because they're leaking. Just, the maintenance to do before crossing the Pacific. I thought about sailing to each of the 7 summits, and I do plan on sailing to some of them, but the ones that make sense. Right now, it wouldn't make sense economically for me to pay to cross the Panama Canal, then drop south into Argentina and to like some of the most uncharted waters in the world, when personally I'm not prepared for that. I may have balls the size of basketballs, but that is just not a smart scenario to put myself into. So what I'll do is when I haul the boat out of the water for work, that's my, and again, this is all if everything comes to closure and I can make the money and everything work out. I'll pull the boat out of the water. While the boat's out of the water, I'll fly into Argentina, and then I'll do my month summit and then fly back to the boat from there and then finish up the work on the boat and then cross. And then my next big journey crossing the Pacific over into Micronesia.
You know what, Andrew, we got this little magazine.
You keep talking about this magazine.
Hurricane preparation. So you talk about hurricane. You got to check this magazine out sometime. This particular issue here had a great article on navigating through New York City and Hell's Gate. So
if you ever want to keep fit, we have the ability to help you to keep fit while you're on your boat as well.
Amen.
Yeah, Beverly's great. Beverly Chang is pretty awesome. She wrote that article for us for this issue.
Awesome.
So looking at your YouTube channel, there's a video on here that says MTV Cribs Celebrity Home Sailboat Edition. What the hell's that all about? Did they contact?
That was no. So that was just my way of getting a little traction on my video, right? That was just my boat tour. And I grew up in the early 2000s, right? In MTV Cribs. That was my thing. I loved to watch on TV.
Yeah, well, Eric and I are old enough to remember when MTV actually played music.
Yeah, music television, man.
That was it. Do you know what the first video ever played on MTV was?
I do.
I did know this, but I don't remember right now. Let's hear it, Eric.
The floor recognizes Eric Kyle.
Video killed the radio.
Video killed the radio star.
That's not the one.
That's correct, Alex. Did I have Video Killed the Radio Star for 400, please? The name of the band?
Holy crap. Well, your videos are pretty interesting. It seemed like you got that down pat. You got pretty good at editing, do all your own stuff, or do you got a guy?
Yeah, I do everything myself, and I'm actually slacking. That's when I'm trapped on my boat by myself. Actually, the article that I'm writing for you guys right now is actually talking about how lonely being a solo sailor is. When I'm lonely and I have all that time in the world to be making these videos, it all goes well. But as soon as I get surrounded by people like how I am here, I start slacking, and it's hard to find time about it. But yeah, that's all me. That's all I'm trying to do now, and that's what I'm trying to.
Can you get your dad to come on out with you
on the boat?
Yeah, sail for a while.
My dad, actually, God bless his soul, 54 years old, just popped out a little baby. So congratulations, Dad. I got a little brother. He's
No
9 months
kidding.
old now. It's Edward McLeod Keaveny. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he's a good swimmer then.
my dad is making it work at 54. So you know what that means, David.
Eric, how old are
Manifesting
you
love,
again?
sex, and beauty.
So as a 56-year-old, I gotta tell you, I'm a little nervous for your dad. I think it's absolutely fantastic, my friend. That is outstanding. And with a name like McLeod, there can be only one.
Exactly. No, he's a special boy, man. He's a special boy. Everyone says he looks like me, and he's big. I'm the biggest one in my family, so if he gets any taller than me, we're gonna have some problems. But I think he'll understand if I chop a toe off or two.
So while you're on this adventure, Andrew, and you've gone through the last 11 months of cruising all the way from New York, upstate New York, basically, all the way up the Hudson, all the way down to where you're at in St. Thomas, and you have plans to go down to Argentina via the Panama Canal. You said that you've had a couple of really scary moments. It sounds like when you were crossing the Pacific out of West Palm, things got a little hairy. Um, you talked about some of the challenges from not knowing anything about sailing at all to raising your first sails and going for it. So we all know that there's going to be problems. We all know that there's going to be issues when you're out there with the boat, with your experience level. We also know that the community of sailors are going to be out there to back you every step of the way, which is fantastic. Tell me the highlights, brother. What has been some of the most amazing things that you've seen or been able to do in these last 11 months that have made this whole thing not only worthwhile, but you'd recommend it to others?
Wow, great question. Thank you for that. That actually made me smile. The first time that I knew I made the right decision was off the coast of Cape Cod. I went through my first gale at anchor, didn't drag that time. And the sun rose the next day. I left and I got surrounded by like 2 pods of humpback whales. My first time never seeing land, my first time offshore completely. And I just see like this mist in the air, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I just start driving towards it, right? And it's just these huge whales, brought tears to my eyes. I am just sitting there in awe, absolute awe. That was the first time I really was like, wow, no, people don't get this. This doesn't happen. That's when I really realized, okay, that I'm doing something awesome. And then another notable time was after I broke out of that 2-day gale, leaving West Palm, crossing Atlantic into, I was going to do 12-day passage, West Palm to Puerto Rico, and skip everything just so I could get here faster to beat hurricane season. And after those 2 days, I mean, you can talk to my dad. I told him straight out. I was like, "Yeah, fuck this. I'm done. Who the fuck wants to do this? Like, who wants to do this? You know, this is after my knockdown. I got holes in the boat. I got lost $1,000 in electronics. Everything was just out the window, you know. And then I saw the Bahamas, and I saw that blue water, and I saw the reef, and it was perfect conditions coming through the reef, and I just saw coral head, and then fucking dolphins came next to my boat with me and like guided me into the Bahamas. Like, you made it, buddy. It's okay. You made it. It's all right. And then I got into the Bahamas and I dropped my anchor and I was on cloud nine, right? Cloud nine. And I jumped in the water for the first time. I look under the boat, make sure everything's good. And then I noticed one of my through hulls fell out. So that cloud nine went back down to cloud zero really quick. And then the next big moment was Dominican Republic. It was again, I left Turks and Caicos. I lost my mainsail, actually. I'm not sure the terminology, but whatever ties the sail onto the mast tracks, like 6 of them broke. So I like had no sail. And then I fell asleep at the wheel basically because I was so tired. And I woke up to the whole boat jibing and it broke the pin on my main sheet. So I lost my mainsail completely. And then I had to enter the Dominican Republic. And this was when I finally got into Dominican Republic. I dropped my anchor in Samana, DR. And this guy, Federico, never forget this guy. He saw me. My flag is hanging in the water. My sail's like in a pile on the center of the boat. I'm in my boxers, just like, is this a good spot to anchor? Like, it was a deep anchorage, didn't have it. I'm just asking these people. And then he just dinghies over to me, just dinghies over and says, how you doing, brother? You know, can I help you with anything? And you know, how I was just anchoring the boat. He just wanted to say hi. Later on that day, he came back with a beer for me and he's like, listen, man, I just saw you and it looked like you went through hell. So I just wanted to give you a smile on your face. And just the fact that he came over and did that to me was another one of those times. I was just like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm experiencing these things, and you will never experience these times of things unless you put yourself in a situation of extreme discomfort. You know, you're never going to feel the lows and the highs like I have felt unless you're willing to risk it all. And I am so far committed into this life and into this journey that if this boat sinks, that's everything. I'm back at rock bottom. You know, I first of all, I can't afford to have $12,000 of insurance on my boat every year. I'm insurance free. My entire life is in this boat. Between my laptops, my computers, my cameras, my blood, sweat, and tears. You know, if this boat goes down, I go down. And having that mentality is the only way to fulfill a dream, fulfill a task that you really want to do. And whoever's watching this, if you really have the inkling and the feeling in your heart that you want to do something, you can't do it half-assed. You can't do it three-quarter. You have to jump all the way in, and you have to be willing to accept the fact that you can fail. I'm not even a quarter of the way around the world yet, you know, and I could fail tomorrow. And all this hype and being on this podcast and talking all this shit that I'm talking, you know, could be out the window and then I could be back rebuilding again, you know. That's always in the back of my head, always there. However, in the front of my head is I'm going to be the youngest guy in the world to summit 7 summits and touch 7 seas. And that's what keeps me going.
Man, I can't say it any better than that. That just, dude, that totally blows my mind. It comes back to the whole conversation about community and the cruising lifestyle. And, you know, I mean, Eric and I have been, you know, friends for a long time. You know, he's had a magazine for a very long time now. We took over Lats and Ats, and, you know, it's boaters and cruisers. And I mean, I'm almost speechless what you just said. That was amazing. But I'll tell you, cruisers, I really feel can change the world. I really feel
100%.
that they can. You know, I think that the mentality is there. It's like, you know, there's no judgments. Like you said, the guy that brought you the beer, you know, the people that helped you out, the guy that gave you the boat, right? It's like there's no judgments. There's no, you know, preconceived anything. It's like you meet somebody that is putting their heart and soul and their life into doing, like you said, what you're doing. And it's like there's family, and you got family all over the world, right?
Yeah, I'm getting chills as you're saying this, man. But it's if everybody in the world acted the way that cruisers act. I mean, these people, I don't know any of these people. None of these people know me. Everyone's here to help each other. And that is what makes this cruising life so attractive. It's the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Andrew, I'm not going to knock New York when I say this, but there's a pretty far spread between your average New Yorker and a cruiser. We got maybe a little bit smaller spread between the Midwest and a cruiser, but you're absolutely right. Imagine if all people were to go all in all that they do, and they get a response from their community of other people like you've been getting in the cruising side. We'd have a whole lot better place. So keep the mentality going. One thing that we try to do at Lats and Ats, and it's really the core of what our mission is at Latitudes and Attitudes, is we want to be able to tell people it's okay. Forget about everything else that's going on in your world. Stop worrying about everything. Just get on your boat, cast the lines off, and go. Have the faith that it's going to be okay, and go. And you really showcase that in your mentality and in your attitude about what it is that you're doing. So if our mission is to tell everybody it's okay, just go, what would be your advice to somebody who's well, I'm going to do a couple charters and see if I like it, or I've got a boat, but I just haven't been able to plan it all out yet. I'm worried that I don't have the right skill set. I'm worried that I don't have enough money. All this stuff is going on in their head. What would be your advice to that person who's stuck in between, should I stay or should I go now?
Very simple answer from me. Stop waiting for it to be perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. It'll never be perfect. It'll never be the perfect time. It'll never be the perfect time to leave your family. It'll never be the perfect time to set sail. Check your weather window and go.
You know what?
That's
You know what, Andrew? I told you we have this magazine, right? This Latitudes and Attitudes magazine.
I've heard it once or twice before, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the latest issue, which has this, that Eric's going to hold up for you because he's got it. I don't. There you go. There's actually you just triggered my mind on something. There's a really cool article in this issue here, which is a summer issue, about this older couple that's been cruising for a while. And they had a phrase in there. They said, leap and the net will appear.
I like that.
I like that too. Leap and the net will appear. So, dude, you keep leaping, and sometimes that net are fellow cruisers, right? That come to
100%.
that come to your help.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, I really like that. Leap and the net will appear.
Yeah, man. You can't take that because it's already in our magazine that we have. I don't want to see that in your next article, but anyways.
This is just too big of a damn magazine to find an article. It's like 180 pages in here, and finding that one article.
Page 35, Eric. There you go. Leap in the there. Isn't that fun?
Well, what I really love is this dude down here that's lying on. Looks like he just fell out of the chair.
He just fell off the bosun's chair.
He missed the net.
Oh,
the net didn't appear for him.
Yeah, well, sometimes people pull the net out from underneath your feet.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh,
dude, you're an inspiration, man. You're a total inspiration. And I mean, when I had a chance to read your article and decide to put it in the charter issue, I didn't have a full understanding of who you were as a person yet, but following you a little bit on your socials and your videos convey some of that, but just having the chance to talk with you about this, you see the real person inside of it all. And dude, I mean, this is what I love about the cruising lifestyle. There's real people living real dreams.
I appreciate that, David. Like, I really, really do. This whole conversation, I've been getting chills throughout it, and I'm not here to be an inspiration. I'm just here to do what I want to do, and along the way, people keep calling me a fucking inspiration, and it's hard to accept that, because I'm nobody special. I am the epitome of the average American. The epitome of the average American. I got kicked out of the army. I got I've been arrested multiple times. I used to sell drugs. I mean, you name it. It's just good to chase a dream, and it's good to make dreams come true.
I got to ask you a quick question, Andrew. Have you ever watched that film on Netflix, Red Dot, the Matt Rutherford story?
Matt Rutherford is one of my really good friends.
I'm going to tell you something, bro. My life changed after I watched that, because he had a story, juvenile delinquent, got a boat out of the derelict yard at the local marina.
Yep.
First solo navigator around the Americas nonstop.
That guy is an inspiration. Okay, that guy is an inspiration.
But he was the same way, bro. He did the same thing. I mean, he had his challenges in his youth, and he went out and he tried to follow a dream to do something nobody's ever done before, exactly like what you're doing. So don't sell yourself short, man. It's okay to be an inspiration. Take comfort in that, take energy in that, take that positive feeling that you get from other people aspiring to do what you're doing, and help them along the way, like you're doing right now. So we want to check back in with you on an occasional basis to see where you're at. We want to see some pictures of you on top of summits.
Sure.
And
You
we
guys
want to
will.
see you on all seven seas, man. We just wish you all the best, and anything that we can do to help in any way. Always know that our community of people, the cruisers that are out there, are all going to be supporting you every breath that you take, my friend.
Dude, I'll tell you
Really?
what, when you get some articles on hikes and doing these summits, I want those because I mean this magazine is a cruising lifestyle magazine, but Latitudes and Attitudes, man, it doesn't need to be on the water all the time.
Maybe we
You
should
know?
rename it to Latitudes, Attitudes, and Altitudes.
Ooh, holy,
Oh, whoa.
wow.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it.
I
Andrew,
never pegged you as that creative, Eric, but good for you, kid.
yeah, I can do that every so often. It just it's like an inspiration. Andrew, I want to thank you for your time today, my friend. I really, really appreciate all your information, all the stories that you're providing to help inspire other cruisers to get out there. Just cast the lines off and go, and let's make sure to stay in touch. And we'll continue to watch your videos. We'll continue to support you any way that we can.
Absolutely, Eric and David, both of you guys. It's been an honor to be here with you guys. Thank you for even thinking that I'm worth the time to have this conversation with. It really made my day. So thank you.
Dude, 100%, man. We look forward to following you. Look forward to the next piece. Stay safe out there. And stay warm too, because we know you don't like to be cold. So, right.
You're a good listener, David.
Hey, make sure you read this magazine.
you,
It's full of a lot of great stuff, my man.
Oh, don't you worry. Latitudes and Attitudes, magazine of the year out here. Find it at Barnes and Nobles, West Marine, and what's the other place you can get it?
Books a Million.
There, Books a Million. You find it over there, y'all.
Just go to latsats.com, guys. You guys can get everything you need right there.
That's it, brother. We'll stay in touch, Andrew. All the best to you.
Please do. Thanks, guys. Again, have a very good day, okay?
You too.
Much love.
My mind is made up. I'm gonna sail away. Latitudes and attitudes will help me find my way with my loving cup. A little salt.